The story starts off with you trying to leave Teyat together with your twin, but out of nowhere shows up an unknown god that proclaims to be the sustainer of heavenly principles and decides to intervene within your departure by proclaiming the arrogation of mankind ends now. After being defeated and sealed by an unknown power, our protagonist was forced to be trapped within slumber for 500 years. Upon awakening, they were lost and alone until one day, after a casual fishing activity, an unknown creature by the name of Paimon was caught out of the water. They offered their guidance within an unknown world. Thus begins the journey towards finding the lost sibling. The story progresses by Paimon leading our main character towards a structure by the name of Statue of the Seven, which belongs to one of the gods that serves as a sign of divine protection for residents within Teyat, the wind god of freedom. After touching particular structure, our protagonist obtains a divine power of the wind element and sets off towards the city of freedom in order to inquire about their lost sibling from a local residence. While entering a forest, our duo comes across a peculiar encounter of a strangely dressed young man talking towards a dragon and decides to observe them. However, in the process, they happen to alert the vigilant dragon and therefore make it fly away, as well as forcing strange individual to flee in the process. However, upon both individuals' swift departure, our protagonist discovers a strangely glowing red crystal in the form of a teardrop and decides to store it away for now in order to observe what it might be later. Upon exiting the forest, our duo comes across a new encounter with one of the members within an organization known as Knights of Favonius, an outrider, Amber. After sharing their story as well as providing an aiding hand at clearing a nearby camp of hilichurls, Amber decides to provide a helping hand at searching for our lost sibling, as well as guide us towards the city within which she offers as a gift of gratitude in the form of wind glider for our assistance within the previous encounter. While practicing the gliding, all of a sudden Mondstadt gets attacked by previously seen dragon by the name of Storm Terror. Within the chaos, our protagonist gets swept up by the strong current of wind and is forced to chase away the impending doom that might befall civilians if no one stops the rampaging wild creature. After successfully driving away said dragon with a small assistance of unknown origin, our character safely returns onto the firm ground and meets yet another intriguing individual by the name of Kaya that praises travelers' bravery and commend them for their great accomplishment. After short discussion, our duo gets invited to a meeting with an acting Grandmaster of Knights of Favonius, Jean, where we encounter a alluring librarian, as well as a magic specialist, a witch by the name of Lisa, as well as Jean herself, where they get to know that Storm Terror has caused great issues within elemental ecosystem and that someone had to resolve it by clearing the source of the problem within 3 out of 4 temples of 4 winds within Mondstadt. Upon hearing that, our brave traveler decides to once again lend a helping hand and resolve the impending issue as quick as possible. Upon helping Amber in the Temple of Falcon, we discover that Storm Terror was once part of the 4 winds, yet abandoned his temple due to unknown reasons. Upon helping Kaya in another Temple of Wolf, we discover a new individual by the name of dialog. Upon helping Lisa within Temple of Lion, we discover the origin of 4 winds, Dragon of the East, whose real name is Dvalin, Lion of the South, Falcon of the West, as well as Wolf of the North, who are in turn associated with the god of wind, Barbatos. Upon completing the task, our duo returns within the City of Freedom and chances upon an encounter of Jean having a discussion with one of the members within organization by the name of Futuri that offers to take over the defenses within the city, as well as persuade the acting Grandmaster to slay the dragon, which greatly upsets Jean in turn. Upon telling her that all of the temples were clear, Jean reassures us the elemental flow within Mondstadt was restored. Afterwards, our traveler decides to show the peculiar find that was discovered earlier to Lisa and Jean in order to find out if it was an important object. However, all that was discovered is a particular tier, repels of visions, which withhold elemental powers. Due to lack of new discoveries, everyone decides to move on, and in the process, Jean awards our protagonist with the title of Honorary Knight. While traveling around Mondstadt, we by chance encounter the young man dressed in green that was previously discovered within the forest, who introduces himself as Venti and calls us an Outlander. Upon their attempt of showcasing the previously sinister teardrop to Venti, it was discovered the once tainted crystal was miraculously purified and was identified being a Dvalin's tear. In turn, Venti asked us to purify another crystal, upon completing which he swiftly leaves while Paimon questions if his voice was somewhat familiar. Shortly after, we encounter Venti once again, this time near a magnificent giant tree and windrise. Our protagonist asks young man what happened with Animal God, to which Venti replies that he has long disappeared for unknown reasons. However, deities within Liyue and Inazuma were still present. We also learn that Dvalin was somehow manipulated by Abyss Mage, who is a part of a mysterious organization by the name of Abyss Order that is comprised of non-humans that have deep hatred towards humans. After which we discover that Venti was trying to get purified of poisoning which occurred due to our interruption of him trying to cure Dvalin. In turn, he asks for our help of obtaining an artifact by the name of Holy Lyre within Mondstadt's cathedral, which once belonged to Anima God. Upon entering the cathedral, Venti tries to negotiate with one of the nuns in order to borrow the lyre, however gets rejected even after revealing himself to be the Barbatos. Our own attempt at negotiation also fails, upon which Venti suggests to resort toward theft of said object, to which our protagonist responds positively as to avoid another separation from occurring. While sneaking past guards and almost obtaining the artifact, it was stolen by an unknown individual, as well as alerting the guards and forcing our duo to escape in haste towards one of the taverns by the name of Angel's Share within Mondstadt, upon entering which we discover a tall, red-headed individual who helps us hide from Knights of Favonius and is later introduced as Dialog, the owner of the tavern, by Venti himself. While recognizing our protagonist for being a knight, Dialog mentions how weak and insufficient the actual Knights of Favonius truly are. Upon sharing the story that transpired with the cathedral, the group decides to meet after the closing of the tavern, with additional arrival of Jean, who refers to Dialog as her superior, in order to discuss the topic of the Holy Lyre, during which they decide on the plan of how to retrieve Lyre and cure Dvalin, as Dialog has already discovered its precise location. As Venti mentions that Futuri might be aiming to lure out Barbatos by stealing the lyre. Within Futuri hideout, we discover that one of the 11 harbingers by the name of Signora is within Mondstadt, while upon returning within tavern after retrieving the Holy Lyre, Venti confirms that it's a real one indeed, as well as suggests to use the purified tears in order to restore the lyre's true power. After collecting said tears, everyone meets within Dawn Winery and use them in order to restore the lyre, as well as come up with a plan of using it within Starsnatch Cliff in order to summon Dvalin while performing the summon of the dragon. Our group discovers the true identity of Venti as the Anima God. As well as players, we find out our lost sibling to be the leader of Abyss Order and the one pulling the strings after all. Dialog informs everyone that through one of his contacts, he was able to locate the dragon, and everyone once again meets within Dawn Winery. During particular encounter, we discover that Venti requires assistance of others due to the fact that he lacks power, as in order to have great power as an Archon, he would need to preside over his region and directly perform his duties, which he neglected until now, and in turn became the weakest of the 7 Archons. In order to remove the barrier that surrounds the Storm Terror's lair, our group defeats an Abyss Mage, after which Venti removes the barrier by playing on his lyre, as well as explain how a particular area once belonged to an ancient city. This leads our group to removing an ancient seal that was placed within the lair itself, during which Venti mentions that Mondstadt is the most free out of all 7 nations within ENTIER. Afterwards, our traveler comes face to face with the Balin once again, during which Venti mentions that the Balin had been cursed through his wounds that led to his mind being corrupted, after which our group destroys said curse and purify Dvalin. After clearing misconceptions towards Dvalin with the citizens of Mondstadt, our traveler was informed by Amber the city was attacked during their trip outside of it, as well as many citizens thanking our duo for curing the dragon and in turn saving the city. Kaya mentions the Abyss Order managed to sneak in within the city while knights were defending Mondstadt. After thorough interrogation, he concluded the Abyss Order was united by a singular leader who is referred to as Prince or Princess. Afterwards, we meet up with Amber, who in turn mentions that Jean wants to meet with us within Cathedral, during which we return the Holy Liar back within Cathedral in the damaged state to Barbara. While in distress, Venti manages to temporarily fix the liar and make a quick getaway before his fixing would be undone. Upon his exit from Cathedral, Venti gets attacked by Futui and Signora the Eighth, Harbinger herself, who manages to strip Venti of his godly powers in a form of a chess piece known as Gnosis and escape before the Knights of Favonius could arrive. Afterwards, we are healed by Barbara and are informed that Venti couldn't be cured due to her healing powers not working on him, upon hearing which we find Venti once again at Windrise. While asking him questions, Venti mentions that visions are a magic focus the minority of special people possess, and in turn, it allows them to channel elemental powers, as well as ascend towards Celestia, as they are referred to as Alanis, as well as every Archon possesses a Gnosis which directly connects them to Celestia. Signora, who previously attacked Venti, was under the rule of one of the Archons from region known as Snezhnaya, by the name of Tsaritsa, who in turn cut off all contacts with Venti after catastrophe they incurred 500 years ago, after which Venti suggests for our protagonist to head towards Leeway and look for Gia Archon directly, who unlike him governs his region personally.